Welcome to the Esoerotic Dark Feminine Magic Podcast. My name is Crimson, creatrix of Esoeroticism, and I help mystically minded folks awaken their dark feminine magic. Welcome to the Portal of Enchantment. Welcome, Tara Valkyrie, our resident astrologer, to the Esoerotic Dark Feminine Magic Podcast, where we are doing our May astrology through the lens of the dark feminine. Tara, tell us how you are and tell us what energies we have to look forward to in the month ahead.
Okay, well, I'm wonderful. And the energies this month, oh my goodness. So I have to quote astrology.com,
Okay.
their article, and they just list, the dates of significant things happening. Their quote for this was the calm before the plot twist.
The plot twist coming in July.
Right, the plot twist coming in July. But what's really cool about May is May is always a dynamic month because we have Taurus and we have Gemini. And so a lot of the energies, the thing that I would just remind us when we go into May is growth is not linear. And we're going to have some really powerful opportunities to create nourishing security and abundance. So I'm excited about it, honestly.
Yeah, the research I've been doing, May kind of looks dope. It looks
It
like one
does.
of the better months of 2026. So, like,
Yeah.
hooray!
Yeah, and what's really cool about May, we start May with a full moon and we end it with a full moon. Like literally, May 1st is the Scorpio full moon. May 31st is the Sagittarius full moon. So we have a lot of release, culmination, and realization going on this month.
Ooh, yes. And we have just had Uranus go into Gemini, which I think is
Yep.
awakening a lot of our like eureka moment. So that is so beautifully aligned with this.
Yes, and the other just loving Astro Auntie advice that I have for our listeners is we're really going to be benefited when we reframe a lot of this change as something that we are embracing when we're looking at it as opportunity. I know as humans, we've talked about this before, change, we like predictability because it's familiar. However, predictability
Yeah,
is not always good for us.
right.
When we think back, every one of us has a story of a random happenstance that led to a phenomenal opportunity. And it
Yeah.
was not predicted. A lot of the time it was something that just came out of nowhere. We're like, oh wow, I could not have planned better for this. Whatever it may be, whether it's an amazing relationship, a job opportunity, just something amazing. And that's May. When I look at May, I just see this as this plot twist that we could not have prepared for or planned for, and it yields so much potential.
So funny enough, I was just on Instagram, and there was one of my favorite mystical and spiritual prophets speaking, Ice T, and he said, "I don't guide life, I ride life."
Ooh, I like
And I
it.
was like, Ice T, for those who don't know, he's my very random celebrity crush, but he just has the most like wisdom to share that is always so actually spiritually parallel. So yeah, don't guide life, ride life in
Yeah.
May. How about that?
Yes. Yes. I love that. I love that. And it's another big thing about May is it signifies a chapter closing.
Mm-hmm.
Um but again, and I've been saying this, for months at this point, a lot of what is closing, we already knew it was on its way out. It needed to go. It's on its way out. Yes, there's plot twists. Yes, there's some unexpected things. However, it is meant like to free us, to
It
create space for new creation.
feels very Ten of Swords energy. If you know that imagery of the guy dead with like 10 swords in it, that feels like overkill. And it's like,
Yes.
no, it was already dead, like it had to end. So
He was dead
yeah.
9 swords ago, y'all.
Right. Like, so don't act like it's a damn surprise.
Right, exactly. And then yeah, I would say too, so like I said, we have this nice, again, kind of like April, where we had the Aries stellium with the Aries new moon, and then we've had Gemini, or Uranus going into Gemini on the 25th. We April has Aries and Taurus, and then May has Taurus and Gemini. And again, as I said before, these energies work with each other, they build upon each other. And so whatever was kind of thrown up in front of us in April, coming to our realization, whatever initiations we just kind of threw ourselves into, May is like, okay, be for real and be flexible. So the be for real part is Taurus. It's kind of the pumping the brakes. We have some planetary changes that I'm going to get into in just a minute that invite us to slow down and be present with whatever it is that we have begun to cultivate, whatever we are sitting with, and then being open to it changing and it not looking the way we initially may have conceived it to be.
I know that freaks a lot of people out. That gets me excited. It turns me on because
Yeah.
we really limit ourselves when we try to guide life instead of ride life. And
Mm-hmm.
this idea of imagine something beyond what you could even conceive. You can't
Yeah.
imagine it. It's
Right.
a gift from the universe. It's magic, and recognizing that because things don't work out potentially the way that we had tried to control things, very masculine, very linear, very, logical.
Mm-hmm.
To me, where's the magic in that? If we're witches and we're mystics and magicians, don't we want to instead recognize that it's our energy and intention that we put into our greatest spell we'll ever cast, which is our life?
Yes.
And so we are living in this spell that we cast. And so it's just energetically make sure, like we did in Aries season, that you are taking action on the things and getting that clarity around truly what we are aligning with, and then let the magic do the rest of the work.
Yes, absolutely. And there's so much um of the dark feminine energy with this month, because we are in this cultivation. And part of cultivation is allowing for mystery, allowing for the unknown. When we stay too locked into the linear mindset or into that unhealthy masculine, we have to force or control everything, our logic brain naturally creates limitations for us,
Mm-hmm.
because logic has to work within a set formula. So when we're planning things, if we're staying in that, it's naturally going to create these delays, these stops, these limitations that are going to prevent a lot of things from happening. Whereas when we have this action that we've taken on this idea, and we're just like, hey, this is what I'm feeling my way forward. I don't know the outcome. I'm trusting myself as we step into the unknown. That allows for infinite possibilities. And what's really interesting about, like I said, May is bookended by these two full moons. And the first one, we start out May 1st, full moon in Scorpio. I mean, like, let's just dive on in.
Woo!
Yeah. And yes, it's that chapter ending, but then it's also putting this spotlight on power dynamics, on what we have committed to, and how far we have come in our transformation.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think sometimes we need to remind ourselves of that we're
Yeah.
not the same person we used to be. And that pause
Yes.
really gives us a recalibration of reminding us which direction we're heading in and what maybe we are standing for or allowing or even pursuing.
Yeah, and it's that, and then it's so important. We end up attaching ourselves, we form these identities around certain things that we don't even realize until we're like, well, I can't do that because I'm known for this thing, or this is
Yes.
how I've always done the thing. And
Yes.
recognizing those smaller little tethers that keep us stuck, and allowing those, this is a perfect time because this allows us to shed that. And then also that first week of May, we have Pluto stationing retrograde in Aquarius. Yeah, on the 6th.
Ooh.
Yeah, so lots of Scorpio energy. Pluto rules Scorpio along with Mars. But it stations retrograde in Aquarius. And this is just, again, retrogrades are those gifts from the universe. And this is perfect with us being in Taurus season because we're already being invited to slow down, be present with ourselves. Pluto in Aquarius is, having us look at, reflecting both collectively and individually on where we've given our power, where we've given our focus. How do we fit in our current communities? Whether that is, do we fit in? Have we been diminishing ourselves to fit in? Maybe we need to go find a new community. And then also, and this one's the shadowy one, but we need to address it. Where have we been complicit in these existing systems that are taking away our power? Which, that's kind of on the front of our radar right now, but we dive deeper in May.
Yeah. Yeah. Ooh, that is
Mm-hmm.
a little pokey because
I
we'd like
know.
to think that it has nothing to do with me, but really we're all part of the system, So,
Yeah.
ooh, that's going to be big. Okay, so we start with the full moon, then we have this Pluto retrograde. So a lot of shedding, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of remembering who the fuck you are and
Hell
what
yeah.
you are capable of. What do we have to look forward to after that?
Well, then we move through, this full moon and the Pluto retrograde also kind of set the collective tone for the month. We are going to have a further spotlight on the use of our technology,
Mhm.
especially AI. Deeper power structures, how, questioning of those power structures, how we're using our resources, where we're directing our energy. But what's really cool is then on the 14th, we have the Sun Mercury Cazimi,
Ooh.
which
Tell the
that's
people
just,
what a Kazemi is.
yes, so it's a really cool name. For it's really close conjunction of a planet with the sun. And what that means is, Mercury is the planet of communication. It's the planet of expression. And when it meets the sun, that's the planet of our consciousness. This is a really potent time for clarity of thinking.
Yeah,
So we've been
this
doing the shedding, the first 2 weeks of May, and then we get to the 14th. And this is really potent times of clarity and then also productive thinking, kind of making the leap forward in things that have been percolating for a while.
Ooh, I'm looking forward to that because I think
Yes.
if anybody has felt like it's been a bit muddy, there's something percolating. I think, in those instances, it's very funny because I'm recognizing this myself where I have really been trying to logically think of what's the thing? What
Right.
am I missing? What is the link? And you can try to force that, but I do think there's something with this astrology, Tara. But
Mm-hmm.
when the stars align, as they say, when all of a sudden you couldn't have forced that. It was almost like you needed to go through the muddiness and you needed to go through the experience of not knowing to swim in those waters for the reveal to happen. And that's
Yes.
why we can't just be given answers to things because then we don't get the connection. It doesn't make sense of how we got from one point to the other. You have to live through it, and you have to weigh the options so you can really say, I stand in this final decision or understanding because I have thought through this, this, and this. I've tried this, this, and this.
Right.
I've expressed this and this and felt what was working, what didn't. So we can't just be given the answers to things. And so it's really a gift what we've been in, which is the exploration.
Yes, yes. And that is so important. Like the having to stand, like what you were saying about having to stand in what what you think, what you believe. Because I'll be real, we're a bit out of practice with that. The past cycle with Neptune and Pisces, we hid behind gurus. We hid behind a lot of performative tools that masqueraded as us finding our power, our sovereignty. Now we've kind of been thrown into the deep end, and we're like, oh wow, okay. And especially what's so important about this is, and this is so Gemini, and one of the big things with May is where we really feel Uranus's new ingress into Gemini. That happened at the end of April. That Gemini energy, which is, it's duality, but not binary duality. It's not one or the other. It is everything is possible, which that's a signature of the mutable signs. So Gemini, Sagittarius, Pisces, Virgo, that mutable energy is anything is possible.
And I think about with twins, like they're multiplying, like
exactly.
That's how I always try to think about it.
Yes. And this multiplicity, and we have this weird conflicting duality because we're going to see further spotlight on AI, on technology that is going to continue to be marketed to us as, use this so you don't have to think. Use this to make yourself more productive. Use this. And I'm not saying that all technology is bad.
Right.
But again, it's learning how to use it as a tool, not letting it take over. And part of what we've done right now is like, we're having a heyday. We're like, woo, AI, like if it could fix breakfast, it's probably, like,
that would be a better use, but yeah.
Yes. So as we're having this explosion of technology, we're also being challenged to think for ourselves. And the stakes are going to get ever higher for that.
How we always talk about, is it knowledge or is it wisdom? And yes. How the wisdom is embodied, it's experienced. And I was been thinking that as well, of how with this Gemini, because we also have Venus in Gemini, right? So that's it's kind of nice. So I think that's probably why we have some good energy. I'm sure you'll tell us ahead why May is very pleasant. But so this idea of information ain't it anymore. And there's gonna and Gemini is very fast, right? It's very witty. And I think that we can think that, if someone has a quick response and they have the answer, that they're wise. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering, do you feel like there's going to be, because of that, a callback to maybe a slower wisdom, as someone who takes a moment to respond, someone who has actually lived the experience and just doesn't have the information? Because at this point, we can all have the information. Don't make us wise.
Yeah. So what I feel we're going to be stepping into is there will be that, and I think there will be a greater kind of adding on to the death of the guru. There's going to be greater discussion. So instead of like you ask me a question and like I sit on high and I'm like, this is what I think, here you go, and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna take this. It's more, this is what I think. What do you think? Or maybe I ask you, what do you think? Okay, well, this has been my experience. So it's more of a quorum type thing where we're having discussion and there's an exchange of ideas and there's a recognition of, okay, this person may have this experience and then this person has this experience and this person, and recognizing that we're all coming through. One of the really cool things I'm excited about is this recognition of nuance, which I know you and I have been talking about.
Has there been a month that we have not talked about nuance?
I know, right? And I was like, it's finally coming. It's finally coming. Like, that's one of the really beautiful things about this, the long-term journey of Uranus and Gemini. But especially this month of May, we really are going to notice this shift in, oh wow, yeah, there's like multiple ways of looking at this thing, and it's not just this. And it has, but I mean, some people may freak out about this. If you're not doing the work, if you are in fear-based or lack-based thinking, this is going to freak you the fuck out. If you are doing the work, and if you are open to expansion and flexibility, this is going to be amazing.
Ooh.
There's going to be a lot of just what I call mundane innovation. And then within that is a recognition. For example, socially, there's been a lot of discussion about like what's best for the younger generations. One of the heavier topics is, we unfortunately every time, and you could tell we're in America, every time we have a school shooting.
I was like, is it because the guns?
Well, you have a lot of adults that are talking about like what's best for children.
Right.
And what I see, because Gemini also symbolizes, the youthful mindset, early learning, and that includes children. So I also see a recognition of the point of view from actual children being, and recognizing an elevation of that, but not in like the toxic youth culture thing we've been in, but the recognition of they have a valid experience as well as the elders do.
Yes.
And we need all these different viewpoints.
Yeah. And maybe the elders stepping back into and acting like an elder role and stop trying to act like children. I'm sure that's where like a lot of the confusion happens. It's, when you are trying to fit into a category and then pretend like you understand it.
Right.
But, from what I understand, this Uranus and Gemini could because Gemini is education, right? That we could see a whole new educational system that it may look, maybe we talked about this last month, I don't know, but that's kind of exciting. And you can think about beyond the classroom, right? You can think about what we do. We're teachers.
Yeah.
So, the way people just learn in general. Whereas I think, when we were growing up, education looked like regurgitation and memorization. But now that we're able to reference these little black mirrors in our pocket, I like the idea of education evolving into maybe something that makes more sense in the reality we live in.
Yes. And I see it going, there's always like light, there's always the higher vibration and the lower vibration. The higher vibration is exactly as you described. It is this potential for, I think, questioning, what subjects are we teaching? I think our entire educational system has potential to come under review over the next 7 years, not just at like the lower education level, the primary education, but then we've talked before about, the level of student debt, the way universities are structured right now. It is not sustainable.
I had no idea. My niece is going to college next year. She's a junior, and I was talking to her mom and dad, and I had no idea college is that expensive. I was like, so, we're talking about getting her down here and getting her residency with me. And it's like, I mean, how else can you afford to go to college? It's a year salary to go to college per year. You know what I mean? It's like, so, and I also think that that's probably good, because I think people should be opting out of college if they are in certain fields anyway. And and we think about how student loan debt is the number one asset on the books for the government, for the US. So there's something intertwined there that's pretty nefarious. If they need more money, they need to put more students in debt. And so to raise their asset numbers. And so I like anything that has to do with a little anarchy right now.
Yes. I'm all for anarchy. Yeah.
And the idea of like, what can education be? Like, can on the job education come back? Can not just internships or mentorships, but apprenticeships? And
Yes.
I like this idea because, again, nuance is the idea that not everyone learns the same and that not every career path needs a standard college education. Now, I think
Right.
what's great about college is the socialization. So
Sure, yeah.
there's something about that. But yeah, I mean, if it's going to just continue the divide between the haves and the have nots, like, and if it's going to put people in perpetual debt and keep them like, quote unquote enslaved, that's a problem. I'm glad we're going to be looking at that.
Yeah, no, it needs to come up. And the other like thing I nerded out over, little mini tiny deep dive. So Gemini rules, it's not just the mind, it rules the hands. And with Uranus going to Gemini, there's already rumblings about this, but I see a resurgence in the skilled trades.
Oh,
like
hell
hardcore,
yeah. Absolutely.
we need that. Like, oh my God. We absolutely need these skilled technicians. And
AI's never going to be able to come and declog my, drains, or they're never going to be able to come. And I mean, even though I know some like electricians work, and there's still like, you need that human hand. And
yes.
I also hope childcare, elder care, things that, again,
yes.
that is something that I am pretty sure, especially Uranus going through Gemini and then into Cancer, this idea of the dissolving of white collar work. I mean, I know we're looking out over like the next decade, but
right. Yeah, but it starts in May.
Now, get it now, kids.
Right.
Okay, because that is like the next decade story of like white collar jobs are kind of going away, and that is maybe a good thing.
Yes. Well, and we've tipped really far into over reliance and this over glorification of the white collar world.
Yeah.
And the reality is there's a lot of the white collar world that can be more efficiently done with technology.
Yeah. It'll be
so
interesting. It's, it makes you question the people who go to school for this and got in all this debt, and now there's like their job doesn't exist. But, I'll tell you, I grew up in a small town, and the quote unquote rich people in the small town that I grew up in are all the people who do masonry, the builders, the people who have some kind of like blue collar, like that has kind of started out of high school, and now we're 45, 46 and are doing quite well, and it works. Point is, it works for a small town. And I always said, I couldn't move back there just because there isn't really what a big city could offer, but that's really something to consider. What does a city offer if not white collar jobs?
Right.
Obviously we need, I wouldn't consider them white collar like doctors, but we need people to run companies. We need lawyers. Yeah. We need all of that. But do we need like the minutia of project managers and you know what I mean? Between maybe not. And what does that look like? And maybe it does look like the return to smaller towns that aren't necessarily cities.
Yes. And small, again, and that's another Gemini thing, is a greater focus on the local community.
Okay.
So the resources of the local community. So instead of like, for example, it's like, instead of trying to get like, when in Austin, instead of trying to have this one company that's servicing the surround, like all of the little towns around Austin, you have the local person.
Yes.
Who, the local master electrician, the master plumber, the smaller companies.
Yeah.
And then that also has to deal with how we're learning, our community, how we are interacting with each other. We already saw with Uranus and Taurus, the rise of like the farmer's market again.
People love a good farmer's market.
People love a good farmer's market. Yeah. So it is really there's this continued expansion
Well,
that's
and I
happening.
like the way you shared that. It really addresses our apprehension with things like technological advance, like AI. When the way that you shared that, I really appreciated that because it made us realize that what it's going to do is basically uncover the problems and bring
Mhm.
us back to our humanity, which I think we
Yes.
all crave right now.
Mhm.
And not that technology goes away, but we use it in a more healthy and empowered way. I love technology. We're on
Oh yeah.
technology right now,
Yeah.
but I think there's healthy
Hmm.
ways to engage with it and ways that are probably going to die out.
Yes, yes. And that's the thing is with this combination of energies this month with, Taurus is consolidation, it is presence. Gemini is connection. It's not just, even though it's mutable air and we tend to think of air energy as intellectual connection,
Hmm.
it is emotional connection as well. And one of the big things that I also see, and I'm already seeing articles on it, is how, in spite of all this technology that's coming online to make us more efficient, to make us more productive, um, like I was reading this one article that talks about how they predict that Gen Z and after will have a shorter work week. Um, and but one of the biggest things is emotional intelligence is going to become so important.
Oh my gosh. So important. And you hear like young kids when they're interviewed, how they talk about what's the number one thing plaguing people your age. A lot of them say people don't like these young kids. They're so impacted by their emotions. They're not taught how, I mean, I'm pretty sure we weren't taught how to manage our emotions either. However,
No.
we weren't bombarded with
Yeah.
what they have to face. Like I didn't have
Yes.
such emotional overload when I was a kid, sitting alone reading my teen magazine in my bedroom. Like
Right. Right.
their access to technology is just heightens the potential for emotional interactions, and they acknowledge that that's probably one of the biggest things. Talk about old people trying to say what's going on with young people, but this comes from young people's mouths, and is acknowledging that not being able to control your emotions is probably one of the biggest things plaguing young
Yes.
people.
Yes, and I think you're absolutely right. I mean, we all went through, when you go through puberty, you have all these emotions, you have all this newness, new intensity you're trying to navigate, but we also weren't holding this little device that is trained to watch us and then give us more of whatever we're finding. And because we can sit here as adults and recognize, oh, I'm doom scrolling. I need
Yeah.
to set this down. I need to go outside. I need to go talk to a human. But yeah, I think even when we were going through that stuff, there was a limit to the information we had. We had Cosmo magazine,
Yeah.
and then we needed to calm down. And even if our parents didn't have the tools to help us navigate our emotions, because that's
Which
a
they
whole other
definitely did
podcast
not.
on the boomers and the silent generation. Um, we could go talk to one friend, like a
Mhm.
human that we were friends with, and to be like, hey, yeah, I was reading this crazy thing, and at least we had other humans that we could co-regulate with.
Yeah.
And there was a limit to how much, like, even the evening news, it might tell you something fucked up, but then it moved on to, and now weather at 6 with Dave. It's like you had this little bite, and then
Right.
it was
You
like, okay,
couldn't
and now we're gonna move on to weather, and then now we're gonna move on to the story about, these kittens that, were
Yeah.
found at the fire station, or like whatever.
It's true. I love so this return to this Gemini energy is really addressing all of this, whereas it
Yes.
potentially wasn't addressed before, and that's why it has felt so unhinged. I love this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so okay, so this was on, what was the last thing we had? The full moon, we had
So we
the
got to
Pluto.
the Sun Mercury Cazimi on the
Oh,
14th.
that was it. The Kazemi.
The
That
Cazimi.
clarity. The
We had
clarity.
clarity. And then right at the clarity, we get some really yummy treat yourself grounding, because on the 16th we have the Taurus new moon.
I love a good Taurus new moon.
Yes, so it's
Luxuriate.
super restorative. This is the part I talked about, but like the cultivating the nourishing security. So even though we're at this crossroads, there's all this stuff happening. Taurus is reminding us that we are the navigators. Where we focus is what is going to grow. And this is a really potent time to define for ourselves what is security to us. Because one benefit of all of the existing structures in flux, crumbling, is we are redefining security, luxury for ourselves.
I love that. And total side plug. I've just started a business coven with my biz bestie, Emily Rose. And we did the last podcast together. And that is something that actually inspired us to start the Biz Coven, because we have all these juicy conversations, and one of them being around, I'm so grossed out by mentors in the business realm trying to make me think that I need to make $1 million to be relevant in my business as like a solopreneur or a small business. And we've been having these conversations like we need to redefine wealth, and we need to and actually, again, Ice-T coming through this video where he said, I don't guide life, I ride life. He was talking about how he's not a billionaire and how he's like, I'm not even close to being a billionaire, and I have everything I could need in life and more. And this kind of egregious wealth accumulation in terms of money is just pure ego.
Yes.
And we see how unhappy some people who have, so this is not a negativity around finances or money or anything like that, but it's like, can we redefine wealth in general? And like, from a perspective of, my success does not hinge on having a lot of things or money. Because circling back to what you said before, this month you said reflecting on our role in the current situation. Well, some of these pretty crappy corporations stay in business because we need little treats every day. Because we need cheap junk from China. And so that is kind of is that really wealth to me?
Right.
Or is that a dopamine hit?
Yes. And that reminds me, another really cool thing that I see kind of coming more into the mainstream this month is there's been research that's coming out. It was first published earlier in the year, and it's hitting the mainstream, about how we are neurologically affected by the materials in the physical objects in our home space.
So, like if it's made of plastic or synthetic or something, is that what you mean?
So one study talks about that, like how it's made, what it's made of, the off-gassing of a lot of these like cheap plastics and things. And then also just the clutter. The clutter, and there's a difference. And one study talks about there's a difference between, like, if you're into cottagecore or maximalist decor, that's not the same as just like there's just you're just filled, your house is filled with stuff. And I love what you say about the little treats, because as we talked about this last month about we can't oversimplify. A lot of people oversimplify, like if you use Amazon at all, you're part of the problem. And the reality is, like, some people, the only way they're going to get supplies wherever they live is through Amazon. Whether it's location or whether they have disability. There's a difference between the person who orders essentials from there versus the person who's like, ooh, I could order this off of Etsy and wait 2 weeks, or I could order this off of Amazon 3 times a week and get it like the next day. Things like that.
Or that instant gratification. If I get this thing, I don't know, that you're never going to use, or that you just consume. Do you need another face cream, and this is not judgment, maybe you do need another face cream, but there is, I definitely think, a line of, does this make me feel wealthy? If so, get it, enjoy it. But is this
Right.
just, do I have 8 other face creams and this is tied to something else?
Right. Yeah, are you getting it because you love the way it feels on your skin, or are you getting it because you perceive some lack about yourself? That
Yeah.
you're like, "Oh, I have these lines on my face and I'm insecure about that. So this product is telling me that I need this to be desirable."
Yeah.
There's a difference between, because again, Taurus is like, yeah, enjoy luxury
Wow.
and define that for yourself,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yes.
Um,
And even being conscious of, okay, if you're getting a coffee every day, do you want to get it from the local place where you know that it's benefiting a local small business, or are
mhm,
you just feeding a corporate machine?
right,
There,
right.
we have to come to terms with those things as well, because that's kind of what's been released over the past couple weeks, is how all of these big corporations aren't paying any taxes.
I know, yeah.
And
God.
so I think we're enabling this. We're
Yes.
enabling this. And I understand that there are everyday people that work at these companies.
Oh,
I
yeah.
get it, but if
Mhm,
we want to see a shift, these same companies are the ones that put small businesses out of business, right? So
right.
the idea is, if you support a local coffee shop versus maybe a Starbucks, I'm going to say it,
Mhm,
then maybe more local coffee shops can stay in business, and then the people can work there. It's like, we need the service, we need the items, but how are we shifting from someone's making minimum wage for a corporation that doesn't pay taxes to,
right.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So,
Yeah. And the other key thing that we're gonna start to learn, one of our key lessons in May, is productivity and efficiency are not the same thing.
ooh, go on.
Yeah. So you know, we tend to think, oh, I need to be more efficient so I can be more productive. And that's how we
Mm,
have these, Starbucks. That's how Starbucks became the behemoth that it is, because it's like, oh, well, I can swing through the drive-through, I can grab this coffee. Ooh, I can grab coffees for my whole department or whatever. And then instead of us taking, the extra 5 or 10 minutes at home to make our own coffee, we can have it we can have our coffee while we work.
yeah.
Um, and so we've created this just ravenous cycle of, to make things more convenient, we have then started we have actually taken away from our presence,
Yeah.
and from, because efficiency, when you look at the core of it, it's actually not about ramping up how much we can do. It is a value presence of each thing we have
Yeah.
within our day. So, recognizing where we have lost connection with being present and coming back to that.
Yeah, I could totally see that being a reality that people are finally recognizing
We're
is.
burned out, man.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like we were a kid in the candy store and we ate
Right.
all the fucking candy, and we're like,
Yes.
now our bellies hurt, and we're like,
Yes.
fuck candy. And it's like, no, not fuck candy. Fuck your inability to understand how to consume candy properly.
Yes.
Now, you can still have candy, but let's be thoughtful about how we are consuming it.
Yes.
The
Yes. And
problem
that's
isn't the candy, it's the humans.
yes. No, it is. The problem is always us. Like, the problem is always, like, it comes back to us.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing, because we have this Taurus new moon on the 16th. Then on the 18th we have Venus and Mars changing signs. Yeah, so we have
Ooh.
Mars goes into Taurus, which is awesome. My tagline for Mars into Taurus is like, okay, but be for real. And what I mean by that is, Mars in Aries is just like, it's like the gladiator energy. It's
It's
just like,
literally what we're experiencing right now in the
yes, it's like,
USA.
yes,
It's
we're doing all
literally
the things.
Department of War instead of
Yes, yeah.
Department of Defense.
It's the Department of War. It is just go, 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 set everything on fire. And
What has
then
it been for 2 years? How long does Mars take? Has it been in Aries for 2 years about?
so yeah, 2 years ago it was in Aries. So it takes about 2 years to
Go through a
complete.
sign, right?
Yeah.
And that's when it became the Department of War, right?
Yep.
That was, yeah. So all of like Pete Hegseth is Mars in Aries, unchecked.
Yeah, he is low vibe Mars and Aries
He
all the
is
way.
low vibe because he could
All the way.
also have ethics and he could have actually been really effective. But unfortunately,
Yeah. Yeah. When I think of high vibe Mars and Aries, I actually think of Wonder Woman.
yeah. Oh, I love that.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, low vibe Mars and Aries is totally Hegseth. I mean, because like low vibe Mars and Aries is also insecure. And again, a whole other podcast is like, if all these men are so manly, why are they scared of strong women?
Right.
You know, why are they taking offense to like every little thing? But yeah, he's totally low vibe. Mars and Aries.
So that makes sense. If people are trying to understand what is Mars and Aries, it's the last 2 years.
Yes,
is what we've experienced. So okay, Mars, thank goddess.
Yes.
Mars goes
Yes.
into Taurus. That's gonna be, and that's at the end of the month.
Yeah, so that is on the 18th, May
Nice.
18th. And so Mars goes into Taurus, and then Venus goes into Cancer.
Nice.
Yeah. So what I love about that, so Mars and Taurus is like, okay, let's be for real. What's actually sustainable? Let's work toward that.
Mhm.
And then Venus in Cancer is sovereign sensitivity.
Oh.
Yeah. So
I
what that
love
means is when Venus goes into Cancer, our intuition gets really heightened, our sensitivity to energy, our emotional awareness really ramps up. Now, low vibe is we're crying about everything, we're feeling a victim, all of that. The high vibe of Venus in Cancer is recognizing the strength in being able to feel that. And recognizing our sovereignty, being like, this feeling is wisdom, it's information, and now I can choose what I'm doing with that. I can choose what needs to change.
And that's why with Cancer following Gemini, they definitely, you've told us before that the zodiac signs in an order make sense and they lead from one to the other. So that makes sense. Okay, you have all of this information. Can you discern this information?
Yeah, because water signs are about discernment. It's taking that information and it's distilling it down, and it's discerning, okay, what resonates, what's authentic. What does that feel authentic to me?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then that leads us to the full moon at the end of the month, our bookend.
Yes, almost. So then on the 20th, that's when Gemini season. That's when Gemini season officially begins.
That's right.
And so I said earlier, Gemini's mutable air. So, for example, we started with Aries cardinal fire, then we had fixed earth Taurus, then we had mutable air Gemini. So we always go through these cycles. We have a cardinal energy, a fixed energy, a mutable energy. So this is also part of that wrapping up a cycle energy with the sun going into Gemini. So again, this is where we really get into that nuance. We really get into that connection. And then, yes, this builds toward the final full moon of the month, which is in Sagittarius.
Ooh, that's what my moon's in. So I love a moon in Sagittarius.
Yeah.
And this will be a full moon.
Yeah. So this conclusion of the month of May with that full moon in Sagittarius, this is both I look at it as a leaping off point. It's taking all the knowledge, all that has come up in May, and then we're integrating that. And if Gemini is about the learning, the curiosity, the connection, Sagittarius is the wisdom that we're drawing up from these experiences. And one big thing with Sagittarius, the higher vibe of Sagittarius is recognizing that all these individual experiences we are having throughout the month are universal.
Mm.
And that's regardless of whether we're in a different state within the United States, whether we're in a different country. We're all experiencing, whatever we're seeing within these systems, and then whatever we're experiencing on an individual level. Yes, it's unique and it's universal.
Love it. Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, what a month.
I know, right?
And okay, before I have you kind of wrap it up, I do want to share, because this is probably one of our shortest astro reports ever, and that is by design, because we know that this has been so helpful as a monthly format, but we also acknowledge that that can be a lot to take in for a full month ahead. And so we are excited to announce that we are going to be also recording weekly astrology videos. Tara's doing jazz hands if you're listening. And the reason for this is because then we can go deeper into the little nitty gritties that are happening, because it's kind of hard to do that in a monthly report without it being like 5 hours long. And we really want this to be an overview of, okay, I get the energy of the month, but for those who love the nuance that want to be guided week by week, what do I have to look forward to with the week ahead? We are going to be doing a weekly astrology report, and that is going to be available in the Esoerotic multiverse. So, multiverse babes, that will be delivered to you every Sunday morning. So you have that to listen to or watch for the week ahead. And if you are a listener of this podcast and you really enjoy these conversations, join us in the multiverse. Our multiverse is our virtual membership. So within the multiverse, Tara's going to be doing these weekly reports that you can just listen to while you're having your coffee, going for a walk, whatever, more nuance on the astrology. But she also hosts twice a month moon clubs, where we can look at your chart and how the energy is affecting you personally. And we do some shadow work and reflection around the cosmic themes. And you can ask questions, which is amazing. We also have full moon and new moon lunar rituals with Ali and Samara. I teach a tarot class, and I teach an opening ceremony class where we dive into a monthly archetype. And then I also teach a monthly movement class. Yeah. And plus, there's like a rich replay library. I also every month do pre-recorded rituals that are brief, like 15, 20-minute rituals for you to just be able to dive into on your own around the month's archetype. It's a very generous membership, I have to say. And so we were thinking, Tara's been writing these reports, but not weekly ones, just the new moons, full moons, and the month ahead. And we thought people are going to engage with this now with this Gemini energy. I think people are into taking the report with them. So what do you want to add to that? And what do you want to say to wrap up our month ahead?
Okay. Well, the other thing I will add with, the entire month is, we build toward, we have grounding. And then I know I opened with the tagline, the calm before the plot twist. Yes. So I know I could already feel there's people like, wait, when's the plot twist? I definitely, looking at the astrology, the week of the 20th through the 26th is where we want to expect the unexpected. And I mean that, and that's the start of Gemini season. Because that's also when we're going to have a lot of interaction with Uranus and, the sun moving into Gemini as well. And we're going to have Mercury in Gemini. And that is the time to really just remain open to opportunity, to possibility, and just to let yourself be open to nuance and change. Like that's the big thing is finding time to connect with yourself and then finding positive connection with the world around you. Like, if you do nothing else in May, like touch grass and go connect with people.
Yes. Oh, I can't wait to talk more about that in our weekly report.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
oh, such great insight, Tara. It sounds like it's going to be an amazing month.
Yes.
Life is always amazing when you choose it's going to be that way, when you can see
Mm-hmm.
the challenges as redirectors and
Yes.
growth opportunities. And I'm just so grateful to have your guidance. It's just so helpful to know what to look forward to in like the week and the month ahead. So
Yeah.
thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And friends, I will put a link to the multiverse in the show notes. It's $88 a month. It's very affordable for everything that you get. And yeah, like I said, an amazing replay library as well. Come hang out with me and Tara and Allie and Samara and all of the multiverse witches. So thank you, Tara. Do you want to, and thank you for listening to our May report. Do you want to take us out?
Yes. Love yourselves, love each other, and happy stargazing.
Bye. Thank you for joining. Follow me on Instagram at crimson.minx and visit esoerotic.com to learn to live more fully and unapologetically in your magnetic power, sensual pleasure, and unlimited creative potential.